For important background information, see my video on the HSUS. This video will be in a Q&A format, and the subject is S373. Why did S373 and the companion bill, HR 2811, come about? To quote Senator Bill Nelson, my bill would serve as a federal companion to help stop the expanding population of large constrictor snakes in the wild. This is about Burmese pythons in the Everglades, right? How did they get there? Senator Nelson's staff told me that park rangers in the ENP, or the Everglades National Park, told him that the pythons in the wild are the result of irresponsible owners releasing their pets into the Everglades. The irony of that is, the ENP employees have admitted that there is no documented proof that anyone has released a Burmese python into the park ever. Although no one's been caught, people still could be responsible, right? Well, here are 3 reasons why using the irresponsible owner theory to explain the population of Burmese pythons in the wild just doesn't make sense. 1, it would require much more than an occasional released pet to establish a self-sustaining breeding population of these snakes over an area as vast as the ENP. 2, if released pets over the years were the source of the Burmese pythons, you would expect to find extreme genetic diversity. However, a study prepared for the South Florida Water Management District has shown that the Burmese python in the Everglades are not genetically diverse. 3, Vietnam has been the source of Burmese pythons imported into the U.S. since 1994. The study above found that the Burmese pythons in the Everglades are not related to the Burmese pythons in Vietnam. So where did they come from? Most likely Hurricane Andrew. Andrew was a Category 5 hurricane that hit South Florida in 1992. Among other things, it blew apart warehouses full of wild-caught Burmese pythons and sent them into the Everglades. All of these Burmese pythons were captured around the same time and place, and therefore were not very genetically diverse. They also weren't from Vietnam. It is known that one facility containing over 900 wild-caught Burmese pythons was destroyed, and none of these future pets were ever found, because they're probably in the Everglades. This sort of mass introduction into the Everglades is precisely what's needed for a non-native species of snake to become firmly established. Since Hurricane Andrew hit in 1992, sightings of the Burmese pythons in the Everglades have risen exponentially. Well, does this bill provide a solution for removing Burmese pythons from the wild, as well as make it illegal for irresponsible owners to release them? No. There's no provision within Section 42A1 of Title 18 which states or implies that it will provide any solution for removing Burmese pythons from the Everglades, nor does it penalize people for releasing pythons into the wild. Interestingly, it's already illegal to release these non-native animals into the wild in Florida. Well, if it's already illegal to release them, why the push for the bills? For that, we can thank Gordon Rada of the USGS. He published a very poorly researched paper that scared the general public. Here are the basics. Rada gathered information about the monthly temperature and rainfall across the range of the Indian python and the Burmese python. Rada plotted the projected monthly temperature and rainfall across the U.S. in the year 2100, if global warming happens as he suggests. Those 2 data sets were then combined, and the conclusion was that in the year 2100, these snakes could spread to the southern third of the U.S. Why did you say that this paper was poorly researched? 4 reasons. The Burmese python and the Indian python are different subspecies. Some population of the Indian python show that they are more cold tolerant than the Burmese python. This fact shows that the findings for the appropriate temperature range of the Burmese python are skewed by the inclusion of the Indian python. Not a single Indian python has ever been recovered from the wild in the U.S., and they're rare in captivity. So this begs the question, why did they include these in the data set? Number 3, Rada only used 2 overly broad data sets, monthly temperature and monthly rainfall. 4, this paper focuses on what might happen rather than what is happening. So 4 key reasons why this paper is absolutely terrible and needed to be refuted. That set the stage for Pyron et al. To publish their paper. Well, how was Pyron's paper similar? Pyron allowed for the global warming scenario, and he actually conceded the inclusion of data sets from the Indian python. How was Pyron's paper different? Pyron used 19 climatic variables, as opposed to 2, to determine where the Burmese and Indian python might survive. If that sounds more thorough and probably more reliable, it's because it is. Pyron also used more up-to-date methods of climate modeling, making his results far more reliable. So what was Pyron's conclusion? Due to the low temperatures experienced by latitudes north of the Everglades, these snakes can live nowhere else in the U.S. other than their current location. This is the case even if global warming occurs, as Rada suggests. So where can I read this for myself? You can find both papers at usark.org. Look under Archive. Okay, well, it sounds like this bill is not worthy of my support, but can you share with me what S373 intends to accomplish? S373 seeks to add 9 types of constricting snakes to Section 42A1 of Title 18 of the U.S. Code, which would label them as injurious wildlife. What does that mean? It means it's prohibited to import into the U.S. or engage in interstate transport with the animals listed within the statutes. These prohibitions also apply to the offspring and eggs of the injurious animals. If you're caught, it's a misdemeanor, and you may have to pay a small fine as well as serve up to 6 months jail time. The animals and eggs will also have to be destroyed. Wow. Fines, jail, killing animals? Anything else? Yeah. Once you violate Title 18, you can then be prosecuted under the Lacey Act. The Lacey Act significantly increases penalties as high as a criminal offense, punished by up to 5 years in prison, and a $20,000 fine per offense. Each animal in each state line is a new offense. Penalties do vary by infraction. Here, why is it bad that these snakes can't be moved from state to state? Well, here are the few of the numerous reasons why. Consider first that these animals are pets. If you own one or more of these pets and need to leave the state due to a new career opportunity, to care for a sick family member for evacuation purposes, or because you're in the military, your snakes cannot leave with you. Reason 2. If your animal needs veterinary care from a reptile specialist, you can't leave the state to get it, which could literally cost your pet its life. Reason 3. Most of the commerce in the reptile industry takes place over the internet, and with the aid of shipping companies to move these snakes from one state to the next. If you can't transport or ship a snake across state lines, your potential client list just shrank by 98%. The result is that thousands of family businesses will go bankrupt, and the captive trade of high-quality pet snakes in the U.S. will be crippled. I'm a little confused. How does driving a Burmese python, anaconda, or boa constrictor from Wyoming to Idaho, or shipping it from Atlanta to Sacramento, affect wild populations of Burmese pythons? There's no fact-based scientific answer for that question, and that's the major criticism of this bill. It does not address the problem it seeks to solve. You said S373 will bankrupt families. How much money are we talking about? Well, the reptile industry contributes approximately $3 billion per year to the economy from animals, cages, supplies, shipping, etc. Approximately 1/3 of it is from the 9 animals listed on S373. That's $1 billion. Well, what are the 9 animals listed? Burmese and Indian pythons are considered 1, reticulated pythons, African rock pythons, and southern African pythons, all species of boa constrictors, and 4 species of anaconda. How did animals other than the Burmese python get added to this list? Another report by the USGS was written that supposedly supported this, but the paper was never peer-reviewed. An independent panel of scientists have openly and endlessly criticized it as not a bona fide scientific paper. They went on to say, and I quote, "This document is not suitable as the basis for legislative or regulatory policies as its content is not based on best science practices." But Senator Nelson insists on promoting his agenda. I'm sorry this is happening, but it doesn't affect me, so why should I help? The HSUS is determined to revoke your rights to own animals of every kind, including cats and dogs. They failed to outlaw ownership of all non-native animals like rabbits, birds, fish, and reptiles with H.R. 669. This is their plan B, systematic destruction. If they succeed here, they'll be moving on to your pets soon, so stop them now. Well, how do I stop this legislation that apparently only creates problems? Before I get into what you can do, remember 2 things. 1, think perseverance. One day's efforts will be helpful, but not enough. 2, be polite in your communications. Most politicians know nothing about this bill right now. So here's what you do. Mail, email, and fax your senators a letter stating that you support efforts to restore the Everglades in a responsible manner. Then outline why this bill is a bad idea and register a no on S373. Call them too. Next, try to set up in-person meetings with your senators, or at least their staff, to reveal the truth behind S373. Contact USARK for talking points. Mail your letter to President Obama as well, then email it daily. It will also be helpful if you join and/or donate to USARK as they're fighting this legislation in Washington. Finally, share this video with anyone and everyone who's willing to watch it and encourage them to help the fight. Thanks so much.